Hello, AD. I'm Miguel Lopez Castillo. I'm the production designer for And Just Like That.
I'm Karin Wiesel Holmes. Welcome to your exclusive tour of Carrie Bradshaw's home.
Wait till you see the inside.
So we are in the parlor floor of Carrie's home. This is a townhouse based on an actual structure in Gramercy Park in a Greek revival style.
We were introduced to this set last season, and Carrie was starting to figure out how she wanted to live here.
I just have a lot of clothes.
You do.
This was a choice that was about creating a home for more than just herself. She made a big decision to leave what we refer to as the Perry Street apartment, where she spent a better part of her adult life. I'm selling my apartment. So she's found this extraordinary couple floors in Gramercy. And over the course of the season, she makes decisions decorating. Oh, stay on the runner.
Oh. Hi!
Hi.
I got Mexican.
Oh, that's so nice, but we just ate. Seema came back to see my new table.
I had worked on the show on Sex and the City, seasons 2 through 6, and I had worked on it Just Like That, seasons 2. And although I had done a lot of work in Carrie Bradshaw's existing apartments, I had never done a new Carrie Bradshaw apartment from start to finish.
Michael Patrick described it as the most beautiful apartment in New York. When Seema first presents it to Carrie, it says, I have an exclusive, you want to see it?
You know, something worth giving up my jewel box.
Well, the most spectacular place has shut up on the market.
So before we show you the rest of this floor, we want to bring you up to Carrie's bedroom, office, and closet.
This doesn't actually lead anywhere. We have to go to another stage. This is the next stage. This is a staircase that would lead from the parlor to the second floor.
The chandelier was a chandelier from Plaza Suite, and it had traveled to Boston, or then it traveled to New York, then it traveled to London, and then it traveled back to New York, and it was going to be left in London, and it's a really spectacular piece, and I'm sentimental about it. So when they were going to just leave it in London, I said, can we bring it home?
Follow me into Carrie's bedroom. This was a set that we did, but we did not have the second floor last season. We faked the dining room on the parlor floor as the bedroom last season. Across from here leads you into Carrie's office. This is the desk that was in her old apartment. This chair was in her apartment in the series, as was this table. And this blue table, it's evolved into the office where she is in the middle of being incredibly productive on her new book.
Architecturally, it aligns with directly over the parlor, and these windows are facing towards the park. We wanted that direct exposure to daylight and the large trees, but then it became a whole other saga of developing where to best look at her at work, and also the relationship to the outside, which she has always had with the positioning of her desk.
We always knew that we were going to build in a love seat. We were trying to figure out what is the fabric. At some point, I had bought a vintage shirt that looks like this. And it was pointed out to me that Carrie had that same shirt in her closet. And I had showed it to Sarah Jessica, and she was like, well, what if we made the built-in out of those shirts? And a light bulb went off in our heads, and we found shirts on eBay and Etsy, and we put them together. Some of them had embroidery, so we left in those details.
I love working with Karin and Miguel. I've worked with Karin for years. She's sentimental about the past in the ways in which Michael Patrick and I are, but she also comes with her own really strong feelings and opinions and just a wealth of knowledge that I don't have. And the same for Miguel, who's just an incredibly gifted production designer. It's really nice to have these conversations, and I've been having them for 25 years on this show.
Plot element is that she stops writing about her present time and she takes a stab at historical fiction based on old New York. That's how all of this began to arrive. Well, visual research, city maps, and into the fashion of the times.
Over here, we have a few Easter eggs. These are Carrie Bradshaw's books and her collection of Vogue magazines and other magazines. There's an architectural digest here. Michael Patrick King said that Carrie saw the closet and that was what sealed the deal with her buying the apartment, because this closet is very similar to her old closet in terms of the layout. Even though structurally it's not the same, there's something familiar about it. So this is Carrie's closet, and we wanted to really give it a sense of history, a sense of layering. We picked these lights to also give it a sense of history. There are many Easter eggs in here. Here is the pigeon who lives in the closet. This you will recognize from Carrie's original apartment, which lived by her entrance. Since season 1, the clothing, the shoes, the handbags, the jewelry, all is archived. So we work with the costume department to be able to have Carrie's real wardrobe in here, which is highly unusual for a TV show. And if you had time to poke around, there's a story behind almost all of this clothing.
Exactly. I like my money right where I can see it, hanging in my closet.
This is the bridesmaid dress from Charlotte's wedding. This is another iconic piece. This is the guest room and also where Shu, her cat, lives. It has all of Carrie's old bedding, bed, dresser, and her vanity. The cat tree was a plot point, which you saw Carrie and Miranda putting that together.
You don't think this is overkill?
Miranda, she's my only child.
And this would have been the 4th bedroom, and this is now where the shoes live.
Here we see another example of the older cabinetry in this room, but we gave it a finish that looks a little dry, a little scratchy. It has some wide drawers, possibly for prints or maps, something very specific to some of these period homes.
These are all of Carrie Bradshaw's shoes. There are some from the original series. There are some that she wears this season. We ask everybody who comes in here what their favorite shoes are. Everyone has a different favorite shoe. The ones down there are the ones that Carrie was given after her shoes were stolen at the party.
They say you shouldn't judge until you've walked a mile in someone else's shoes. I made it 6 blocks.
The Manolo Mary Jeans from Vogue are here.
Do you know what these are?
We're not even supposed to be in here.
Manolo Blahnik, Mary Janes. I thought these were an urban shoe myth.
Carrie wore these this season. These are fabulous. These are from A Woman's Right to Shoes. These are from the original series. This is from the series finale, from when Carrie's in Paris. We tried to continue the story here in a more subtle way with the gold rug. We didn't want it to pull focus from the more important shoes. It found its place in here, and I think it really makes the room.
All right, we're back in the first floor. This is the dining room. There has been several plot elements about this dining table. It also has a large bay window that leads to the garden. I personally drew the ground plans and then pulled up a lot of research from pattern books in the 19th century that were almost like catalogs of detailing for house builders. And a lot of this in the traditional construction of these houses were all plaster. Some of these are fairly ornate and precast, but for example, the cove, which is the curved piece that leads to the flat part of the ceiling, is really all foam. And then we also make ceilings that can be pulled off for stage lighting.
Sometimes we need to build our sets in a way that makes it more shootable. So there was an episode in which a big party took place here before it was decorated, and there were many people. And In order to help light it, they came up with this way of hiding brackets for lighting within the architecture of the ceiling. We tried to really get into her character's head. Knowing her for so long was helpful, and to really just think about how she lived and what were her influences and, what kind of shopping she had access to. I like to think of Carrie Bradshaw at the flea market or, at a vintage store.
I love how much we found and Karin found in really, really seriously affordable vintage and consignment shops. And then there's some fabrics that are for sure higher end and cost more per yard. But there's a huge amount that is just from the street, literally, like curbs. So that's great to see it be put to use and be really in glory.
We try to add personal life layer touches, some reference for her book. We have local drugstore matches, maybe a Tootsie Roll, that kind of thing.
There are also the kinds of objects that Sarah Jessica really likes to have.
Michael and I have been there from the beginning, and I think we feel it's incumbent upon us to share what we know and how we've arrived at decisions. It's a privilege to be part of the conversation, but it also is my job, and I take it seriously. It matters a great deal to me. All those details matter.
Okay, we're on our way to the kitchen. Here we go through what would be called the butler's pantry, which is the more antique set of details in terms of the cabinetry and the style. Stained oak with a very waxy, preserved finish.
We made this the entertaining area, the bar, so this is where all that is stored, and this is more household items. Our graphics department helps us go the extra mile by having real Carrie Bradshaw mail. Then if you go into the kitchen, we imagine these chairs might have been left here in a closet. This was something that might have been built in from the original owner, and Miguel designed this, and the team built it and made it look old.
We also went with a maybe 1940s set of cabinets.
A lot happens this season in the kitchen. Not Carrie Bradshaw cooking, no longer sweaters in ovens or shoes.
Do you have a rolling pin
On me?
in your kitchen?
Are you kidding me? I use my oven for storage.
And the small size is a challenge for shooting, but this wall does come out, the cabinets pull out, and they can shoot from behind if need be. We left this old dispenser of wax paper, tin foil, just little touches like that.
The rotary dial phone, even being not practically usable, I think is really important. It's a visual aid that has a lot of sentimental meaning. I think those alone are sort of foundational in a way.
This is the garden that Carrie shares with her new downstairs neighbor, Duncan.
And what we see here is a brick courtyard that, in my mind, is the oldest part of the house that was never changed. So when Carrie first moved in, she encountered this overgrown, messy, romantic, wild, bushy place. So we end up with a much more minimalist style of landscaping. And for the season, what we're seeing here in the series, we're in mid to late November. So we're going into winter. There's a mix of live and artificials because it's very, very difficult to maintain live plants on a stage.
The garden also has major plot points.
Oh my God. It's all gone.
There are a few seasons that we go through. There are a few changes in the garden. People are met in the garden. There is a big plot where Carrie and Duncan meet.
Welcome wagon.
I beg your pardon?
Oh, that's something that we say here in America when someone joins the neighborhood.
Duncan rents the space downstairs to write, and they have very opposite schedules.
Opposite personalities. He's very much a reclusive, intellectual type.
It was amazing to be able to create this space below Carrie's and to have the spaces be contiguous. That was very exciting. To have two spaces in the same building that look so different, from the height of the ceiling to the finishes to the colors and even the furniture. Duncan's apartment he rents, but he brings his personality into it. So that was its own decorating challenge of how to create a space with history that we knew very little about, and then to add on top of that the personality of a character, how to integrate that into the space. Thanks for coming to Carrie's new home.
It was nice having you over. See you next time.